Hello everybody, and I have come up with something that I think is pretty cool. Something I've been kicking around in my head for quite a while, and I didn't even know it existed. It already existed, but it's something I come up with in my head, and I didn't even know it existed. But then I started doing some research, and so found out it exists. It already existed. People have already done it before. In fact, that's how a lot of the Guppy farms do it. So these breeder boxes, since I've been doing Guppies a whole lot again, these breeder boxes, I mean, they're, they do alright, but they're a pain in the butt. You always got this crap trying to drop food in there on the lid. And then they get all gunked up, and the females just sitting there for however long, waiting for them to drop. And then last week, somehow I had some get out of the spout and here when both females were in the tank, and I lost about half the fry. They swam out and got ate. So that sucked. So I figured there's got to be a better way, and this is what I've come up with over here. This is it's called plastic canvas, and the mesh sizes are different sizes. They have different ratings. And I've done a lot of research before I've done this. This has been in the works for a couple months. So I've done my homework and made sure I've done it right. This is size 5. Most of them are size 7. But 5 is harder to find and more expensive. But what that means, the sizes, that is how many squares per inch. So the lower the number, the bigger the mesh size. So what this is going to allow you to do is select your best breeders. And this one, I just built this one today. And my plan is to put my 5 best females in with my best male. They have females drop the babies, and they have a whole tank to swim in. It's not too bad crowded in there. It is a little over 11 inches by a little over 11 inches by 6.5 inches tall. So, and by the calculator, that is roughly about 3.5 gallons. So, 6 little guppies and 3.5 gallons is not too bad. Right now, like I said, I have 5 females. I picked my best male. These are panda guppies. This is the tank I just had to replace yesterday because the other one sprung a leak. So this is a brand new tank. Same filter as the old tank. Took out, didn't replace the substrate. So that's what we got going on. Now, this is what I'm doing it with. Plastic canvas, shape whatever. It's 13.2 by 22 inches, so that's why it's. So I did that sizing to get the most efficient use. So it takes 1 sheet to make the walls, and then this is a bottom for another one, and then out of every 2, this is all the scrap I should have. Out of every 2 that I make, or out of every 1 that I make, I can make the walls with one, the walls take the whole entire thing, and then it takes half of the bottom plus this to make the bottom plus this scrap. And also I have styrofoam on it. Now I put the styrofoam on there and it's a tight fit, so it's not really going to be floating any, but if you want to put this in a bigger tank, you can make it as big as you want and put it in a bigger tank and make it float. When I done that, I didn't realize the trim would be getting in the way, so it's really just sitting there on the trim, but this thing will float. It's this plastic canvas with little tiny, these are little tiny zip ties, little tiny 4-inch zip ties, holding it all together. Look over on this side. Zoom in some here. You can see what we got going on, and it doesn't go together exactly perfect. All the pieces. Some of the pieces are like half a square off because there's an odd number of squares in one dimension. I don't exactly remember, so it's not perfect. But where it's not lining up, I just use a couple extra zip ties. Nothing's gonna swim out of that little gap other than a fry. That's good. So eventually the plan is to do the same thing for these. So this is going to be, these are going to be birthing tanks, I guess you'd call it, for guppies. We drop the fry, and then when the older fry start getting big enough that they start going after the newborns, then I'll scoop them out, and then they'll go back to where they can grow out. And this happens to be the panda tank. And the guppies. So pretty. I love little panda guppies. So that's what we're going to do. And then I figured I would show you guys how I did it. I made this one. I can make another one. So let's see how this is going to go. Alright, so here we go. Let's see how this goes. Got my yardstick here. Really don't need anything this big, but I did. So, we're doing 11 by 22. That is the size, a little over 11 inches by 22. So that means we want to do right at 6.5. Or, yeah, let me figure out. Okay. Oh yeah, the cat's going to be, no, it's 13 inches. 13 by 22. I don't remember what I said. It is actually 13. Get down, cat. Oh my god, I thought. This, she is a pain in the butt. Why are you following me? I was helping my boy on do something with his computer, and she's in there hollering and hollering. Okay. We are actually at about 13 3/8. So we want to do 6 5/8. So we're getting there. Right there. We want to make the cut on this square right here. Now, like I said, on one of these, it is off a little bit. Because in one of the dimensions, one of the dimensions there is an odd number of squares. So it's not perfect, but close is good enough. Cat. This cat ran outside yesterday, and she never does that. No! She's gonna knock the camera over. I'm about to go lock her up. Alright, let's see how close they are. Yeah, this is the one where there's an extra square. You can see that. That's the dimension. So that's the side we're off half a square, or a square. Alright. So then we have it again. And this should be right at 20. It's actually 22 and an 8. So we'll make the cut right at 11. Let's see here. Get the straight side here. Because 11 is right in the middle of a square. We'll cut right there at 11. See if we screwed up or not. Hope we didn't. Pretty close. Pretty close. For whatever reason, I'm half a square off. Alright, line this up so we don't have to measure again. I'll cut on that square right there. So now we have our 4 equal sides, roughly equal sides, that are pretty dang close. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our bottom. That should line up pretty dang close. Alright, now we got zip ties. These are actually multi-purpose cable ties. Got all this stuff off of Amazon. I think you get 12 sheets of the plastic canvas size 7 for, I believe it was like $36, $35.98. And then I think these zip ties, you get 100 of them for like $4.99 or something or other. So all in all, he used 2 sheets, a 6, so it's about $6 a canvas, and $5 zip ties. So that's, you're definitely saving some money on DIY. So when I done this, I done the 4 sides together. I like to make the straight edge, the factory straight edge, the bottom. Then it's easier to get to go together, because at the top it's not super important. And you get them to interlock together like so. So what I've done, see if I can get this on camera correctly. Stick it in the corner there. Stick it in the corner there. And I didn't. I tried to do the zip tie backwards. I do that from time to time. We get our angle correctly. I mean, this ain't super important, but then we pull the zip tie tight. And then we do the other corner. And this one, the bottom will line up pretty good because that's where the bottom needs to go. Bottom square with bottom square. That's about where we want it. These are, you can tell it's off a little bit. When you get, then I go ahead and put another one in the middle. Not exactly the middle, but somewhere roughly in the middle. I guess if you wanted to be real particular, you could make sure all your zip ties are pointing the same way so it looked better, but I didn't do that with my first one, and I probably ain't gonna do it with this one. Then we'll do another corner here. Zip ties out of the bag so I'm not fighting with the bag every time. It's harder to do when you're trying to film it, for sure. It's pretty easy to actually do it, but yeah, and I'm just sitting there talking about getting the holes lined up and the flat side on the bottom, and I didn't on this one. I already forgot what I just was trying to teach you guys. Gotta put one in the middle. Almost a majored wrong, because this one's a little bit more wonky than the other one, but I promise it'll be just fine. So this is what we got now. And then we're halfway to getting a square. Same thing. Then get the other corner down here. Just like so. Then we get another one in the middle. And then all we gotta do is this last side here. And we'll have the walls put together, roughly. Now what I originally planned on doing was I got some fishing line and I was gonna rough it, do this with the zip ties, and then do the rest of it with the other. And do the roughing it in with the zip ties, and then using the fishing line to fine tune it, but it's just easier zip ties. Got one in the middle here. Okay. So we got something like this. Alright, I'm gonna get this cleaned up a little bit, put in zip ties where the gaps are, then I'll come back to do the bottom. Okay, so now we got our 4 walls roughly put in. And we got our bottom. The bottom, I guess you call that, might be the trickiest part. Getting it all lined up, because you gotta do it right. I started, well, I don't know if I'm doing it right. This is the way I did it. But I'm sure there's someone out there saying, this guy is a freaking moron. I guarantee it. But this is what I'm doing. So I start off in the corners, and that's what makes sense to me anyway. And then there's 2 zip ties going through those squares on the corners. So you want to be careful, because I'm not sure how strong this thing is with just one square holding it. But let's see if you guys can see this. It goes in the same square. Same square. Then we'll put one in the middle somewhere, roughly the middle. Yeah. On this side, this is the side we're on here. And then you get these little, where you made the cut. Let's see if you can get that on there. That'll help it line up and hold it into place a little better. Put one here in the middle. Goes through there. There. Through there. So that is roughly attached on that side. Then we come over to the other corner. Nice and tight. Put one over here in the middle, on this side. Nice and tight. And get this corner. That hole. Put one in the middle here. You end up going through, I went through, like, they say there's 100 zip ties in each one of these packages. I probably went through about 80 or 90 on the first one. And that one's in the middle. And then we put one in this middle, on this side. And you can see it's roughly put into place here. Now I'm going to go through and put some more in here along this bottom seam here. Get it cleaned up. sealed up nice and good. And we'll check back. I guess I'll show you how I do this. So like you can see, corner, middle, corner. So we'll come, first start somewhere in the middle here, between your zip ties. And this way, if you're kind of wonky or something, then you come back through and fill the gaps. So then, like, did it every half. Now I'm doing it every, between the halves. So I guess every quarter you call it. And like right here, it's kind of wonky. I put an extra one right here. And then the closer you get to the end, the harder it gets. I mean, I probably need a couple extra ones right in this one. But that's pretty good. I'll probably end up putting a few more on that seam there. Probably like right here maybe. But I think it would mainly do good. But what you start on the ends, then you go in the middle, then you work on that middle, then you work on that middle. And then when it gets wonky like this side, this one's going to be real wonky. And there's going to be a few extra zip ties right there for when it's kind of wonky. And the zip ties will close the gaps. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So here we are. All I'm going to do now is you cut all the excess zip ties like so. Be careful not to cut the mesh, because that would not be good if you cut the mesh. And there's the corner. So I'm gonna go cut the rest of these off over the trash can so I don't get 100 little zip ties all over my floor. Holy cow. That was a lot of zip ties to cut. And as you can see, we've got a pretty solid box with almost no gaps. No gaps that a adult guppy could swim through. So now, the next step is we're going to make it float. And for that, I have, you can tell where I've cut this from the last time. This is just pipe insulation. I take my knife, cut here. Then little slices. And I know from last time I need 2 strips. So now we'll cut another one. Be very careful. You don't cut yourself, obviously, because no one wants to do that. That was kind of weird. But I ain't trying to win no beauty contest. So it ain't got to be perfect on the edges. In fact, this one cut a little bit fat. So I'm going to take my scissors and trim this little skinny extra edge off, because it's going to make it float weird. So you just need a little bit, because this thing, when this canvas and mesh, is pretty much neutrally buoyant anyway. But so then we'll figure out, you don't have to go all the way to the corners to be perfect. So cut about right here. That'll be good for this side. And more zip ties. this one started, get it adjusted where we want it to end up at, and pull that zip tie tight. And at the other end, same thing. Pull that zip tie tight. Down here at the other end, pull that zip tie tight. Probably put some in the middle here too. Just to make sure it's gonna hold on. It's probably completely unnecessary, but I just like doing it. So now we're gonna do that. Alright, you guys didn't even see me do that. That will end up something like that. I'll finish up the other sides. So now it's done. It'll float. Styrofoam edges. Seams are pretty good. Whole lot of zip ties. Little baby zip ties. And so what you have basically now is a mesh container that fits perfectly inside of a 20 tall. I think, yeah, it'll fit into a 20 high, 29, same deal. It'll fit perfectly in a foot wide tank. And adults cannot, they will live there. The way I plan to do it is the adults will live their entire lives in here. It's about a 3.5 gallon tank. So it'll be like 6 guppies living in a 3.5 gallon tank, which isn't too bad, but they're in my case, they'll be in at least 20 gallons of water. This is something I've been, like I said at the beginning, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. I've had the idea kicking around in my head, realized that it actually existed, and in my research, I saw that Corey from Aquarium Co-op actually done something kind of like this, but he uses thread. I've never seen anyone use zip ties in this before, and I think he's using a number 7 mesh size, but number 5 is better, I think. It's wider, more flow, not a dead spot. There's plenty of flow going to flow through these holes here. So that, hopefully someone will find this interesting, useful, because I'm pretty excited about actually doing it now. It's actually a reality, and I'm pretty pumped. I got one in use already, and I got this one ready to go for when I'm ready for it. So, thank y'all for watching. Bye.